From getting hit with charges that shook the industry to its core to making a 180 after getting exposed,
I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
Diddy's case has had us all locked in from day one, and now that the trial has officially started, word is he's showing real remorse and finally revealing everything in court. There's a lot of courtroom drama unfolding, and I'm here to break it all down. Diddy's court apology. So check it. The federal sex trafficking and racketeering trial of Sean Diddy Combs officially kicked off with jury selection on May 5th, 2025 in the Manhattan Federal Courthouse. The trial has been drawing crazy attention from media outlets and fans alike, with everyone wondering what's actually happening behind those courtroom doors. The kind of attention this trial is getting, it's not just your average celebrity gossip moment. We're talking around-the-clock coverage, breaking news alerts, hashtags trending every other day. Some folks are tuning in out of concern, others out of curiosity, but the energy around it is undeniable. People want to know if one of hip-hop's biggest icons is about to face a dramatic fall from grace, or if he'll come out of this untouched as he's managed to do so many times before. Whatever it was, this apology isn't official, but it is enough to get people talking. We've got the blog spinning with headlines like, Diddy apologizes in court. Is this his confession? Sean Combs finally cracks under pressure, but without context, the moment remains just that, a moment, and one that could be interpreted 100 different ways depending on what side of the story you already believed. But here's where it gets interesting. Diddy has consistently pleaded not guilty to all charges and even rejected a plea deal that was offered to him on May 1st, 2025, just days before the trial began. His attorney, Mark Agnifilo, has made it crystal clear, stating that Diddy is an imperfect person, but he is not a criminal, and emphasized that his client is determined to fight these allegations in court to clear his name.
He's been looking forward to this day. He's been looking forward to clearing his name, and he's going to clear his name. And we're going to stand by his side as he does. We believe in him wholeheartedly. He didn't do these things.
That statement hit differently. An imperfect person, but not a criminal. It's the kind of line that's designed to hold space for public sympathy without admitting guilt. It acknowledges human flaws, sure, but draws a hard line between bad decisions and criminal behavior. That's a smart legal strategy, but it's also left people feeling uneasy. What exactly is being owned here? What's being denied? Besides, we're talking serious federal charges, including sex trafficking, racketeering conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Prosecutors allege that Diddy abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct over decades, dating all the way back to at least 2008. The feds are basically accusing him of running what they call a criminal enterprise involving something called freak-off parties, where victims were allegedly coerced into sexual acts.
The freak-off sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics such as ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB, which Combs distributed to the victims to keep them obedient and compliant.
It's heavy. These aren't just accusations of misconduct or bad behavior at a party. These are allegations of a structured system of exploitation that prosecutors say was built to serve one man's desires and protected by money, fear, and silence. According to court documents, these freak-off parties weren't just wild nights. They were allegedly organized with intent. Victims claim they were drugged, manipulated, and threatened into performing sexual acts. Some say they felt trapped, afraid to speak out because of Diddy's power and reach. Others say they tried to come forward in the past but were paid off or silenced through intimidation. The trial is set to feature testimony from former employees, ex-girlfriends, security personnel, assistants, and industry insiders. People who were once part of his inner circle. People who saw the machine from the inside. And the prosecution is expected to argue that this wasn't a few isolated incidents, it was a pattern, a culture. So while that apology might not seem like a bombshell confession, the trial itself is shaping up to be one of the most high-profile celebrity court cases in years. The stakes are massive. Diddy's brand is already taking hits. Partnerships pulled, sponsorships paused, former associates distancing themselves. Even some artists under his label are issuing vague statements about standing with survivors. But what's even bigger is what this trial represents culturally. For years, there's been quiet chatter in the entertainment industry about the price of fame, the things people endure, overlook, or stay silent about to stay close to power. This trial is dragging some of that silence into the light. It's no longer whispers in green rooms or cryptic interviews. It's sworn testimony, federal documents, and live updates.
The biggest secret in the entertainment industry that really wasn't a secret at all has finally been revealed to the world. The wall of silence has now been broken, and victims are coming forward.
And let's be honest, a lot of people are struggling with how to process it. Diddy isn't just a celebrity, he's a cultural icon. The man behind countless hits, careers, and moments in hip-hop history. For a whole generation, he represents ambition, reinvention, and success. But now that legacy is under serious threat. Some fans are holding on, saying the system is trying to tear down another successful black man. Others believe this moment is long overdue, that the industry has protected powerful men for too long, and that it's finally time to hold people accountable regardless of their fame. The apology, if that's even what it was, may have been subtle, but it stirred something. It reminded everyone that beneath the headlines, behind the cameras, there's a man on trial, a man whose actions are being picked apart in real time, a man who might lose everything. So yeah, the apology isn't the story. It's just a flashpoint in a much bigger narrative. The real story is the trial itself and what it uncovers, not just about Diddy, but about the culture that allowed someone with that much power to operate without serious consequences for so long. The shocking allegations and evidence against Diddy. So what exactly is Diddy being charged with? The indictment, which was unsealed back in September 2024, includes some heavy accusations. Diddy is facing 5 counts in total, including sex trafficking by force, fraud or coercion, racketeering conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution. These aren't your average celebrity legal troubles. We're talking federal charges that come with penalties as serious as life imprisonment if he's convicted. The prosecution is basically alleging that Diddy wasn't just a successful music mogul, but that he was running what they call a criminal enterprise for decades. According to the indictment, this alleged operation dates back to at least 2008, but some of the civil lawsuits against him include accusations dating all the way back to the 1990s. The feds claim Diddy used this enterprise to abuse, threaten, and coerce women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. One of the wildest parts of these allegations revolves around what prosecutors are calling freak-off parties. According to court documents, these were basically drug-fueled sexual events that sometimes lasted for days.
Combs allegedly planned and controlled the performances, which he called freak-offs.
The indictment describes these freak-offs as organized events where victims were allegedly coerced into sexual acts, often filmed, and sometimes given IV fluids afterward to recover from the physical exertion and drug use. I'm not even making this up, y'all. This is straight from the court documents. But the allegations don't stop there. The prosecution has identified 4 victims in the indictment, referred to as Victim 1 through Victim 4, to protect their identities. 3 of these victims have been allowed to testify anonymously, which gives you an idea of how serious this case is. Their accounts allegedly detail patterns of coercion and abuse at these freak-off parties.
As alleged, when Combs didn't get his way, he was violent, and he subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse so that they would participate in the freak-offs, and that Combs hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair.
Now, you might be wondering what kind of evidence the prosecution has to back up these crazy allegations. Well, one of the most significant pieces is a surveillance video from 2016 that CNN published back in May 2024. This footage allegedly shows Diddy violently assaulting his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, in a hotel hallway. This video caused a huge controversy when it first came out, and it's expected to be a central piece of evidence in the trial. Speaking of Cassie Ventura, her story plays a major role in this whole situation. In November 2023, Ventura filed a civil lawsuit against Diddy, alleging rape, sex trafficking, and years of abuse.
And the claim is that during their relationship, he was physically abusive, that he required or demanded that she perform certain sexual acts with other people while he was there, and that he in fact raped her shortly before she left him.
The lawsuit was settled literally the next day for an undisclosed amount, which raised a lot of eyebrows, but it triggered what some are calling a domino effect, with dozens more lawsuits following. In fact, according to reports, Diddy now faces over 70 sexual assault lawsuits. The Washington Post has even created a database tracking these lawsuits, noting patterns of non-disclosure agreements in the music industry that may have enabled this kind of behavior for years. The sheer number of accusations is absolutely staggering. Another major piece of evidence came from the raids on Diddy's properties in Los Angeles and Miami back in March 2024. During these raids, federal agents reportedly found over 1,000 bottles of baby oil, which became a major talking point in media coverage. While it might sound bizarre, prosecutors are presenting this as evidence of the scale of the alleged activities.
And they seized cases and cases of the kinds of personal lubricant and baby oil that Combs' staff allegedly used to stock hotel rooms for the freak-offs, more than 1,000 bottles altogether.
After those raids went down, something interesting happened. When that 2016 surveillance footage of Diddy allegedly assaulting inserted an image in the background, Cassie Ventura was released by CNN. Diddy actually issued a public apology on social media, which he later deleted, calling his behavior inexcusable and stating he was disgusted with himself. He said,
I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
This apology for the Cassie incident is not to be confused with the recent court apology for being nervous that sparked those misleading headlines we talked about in part 1. But it's worth noting that even after making this public apology about the assault video, Diddy's legal team has since challenged the video's admissibility in court, alleging it was substantially altered, a claim CNN denied. Talk about a complete 180. The timeline of events leading up to this trial is wild in itself. Following Cassie's lawsuit in November 2023 and those federal raids in March 2024, Diddy was arrested in New York and indicted on the current charges in September 2024. He's been held without bail at a Brooklyn jail ever since. The court has denied him bail 3 separate times, considering him a flight risk and citing concerns about potential witness tampering. Just days before the trial began, on May 1st, 2025, Diddy rejected a plea deal that could have reduced his sentence, choosing instead to go to trial to prove his innocence. This decision shocked many legal experts, given the mountain of evidence the prosecution claims to have. The current trial is presided over by Judge Arun Subramanian, who is a former clerk for Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg and a seasoned litigator. The jury selection process has been intense, with the court narrowing down 600 potential jurors to dozens. Prospective jurors were questioned about their knowledge of the case, exposure to media coverage, including that Cassie assault video, and potential biases. Some jurors even mentioned seeing the assault video or hearing baby oil jokes related to those raids. Adding to the high-profile nature of this case, celebrities like Kanye West, Michael B. Jordan, Mike Myers, and Michelle Williams were named as potential references in the trial. None of these celebrities are accused of any wrongdoing, but they might be mentioned during testimony or might have been present at events relevant to the case. Diddy's defense team, including attorneys Mark Agnifilo, Brian Steele, and Tenny Garagos, is pursuing what insiders call an aggressive defense strategy. They've sought to exclude the Cassie video and question the relevance of the baby oil evidence. They've also pushed for thorough jury selection, particularly around media exposure and attitudes toward people with multiple sexual partners. Perhaps most interestingly, court documents indicate a plan to have Dr. Eli Aoun, a Columbia professor, testify about a redacted mental condition that could potentially affect Diddy's guilt, though prosecutors are disputing its relevance. This suggests the defense might be preparing to introduce some kind of psychological or medical angle, although the specific details remain under wraps. Throughout all of this, Diddy's team has maintained that he is innocent of all charges. His attorney, Mark Agnifilo, has repeatedly stated that Diddy is an imperfect person, but he is not a criminal, emphasizing that their client wants to clear his name. They framed any interactions as consensual and part of what they describe as a swinger lifestyle, not criminal activity. But, and this is a big but, the number of accusers and the seriousness of the allegations paint a very different picture. With over 70 sexual assault lawsuits and federal charges that could put him away for life, Diddy is facing what might be the most significant legal battle of his entire career. Trial progress, defense strategy, and what's next. Now let's get into where the trial currently stands as of May 7th, 2025, what defense strategies Diddy's team is using, and what we might expect in the coming weeks. So where exactly are we in this trial? The proceedings officially began with jury selection on May 5th, 2025, just 2 days ago at the time of this recording. According to the latest reports, as of May 7th, 2025, 45 prospective jurors have been qualified, which was the court's target. This is a significant milestone in the trial process. The next major step will be what's called peremptory strikes, which are scheduled for Friday, May 9th, 2025. This is when both the prosecution and defense can remove potential jurors without giving a specific reason. The court will be dark, meaning no proceedings, on Thursday, May 8th, and then opening statements are set to begin on Monday, May 12th, 2025. The jury selection process itself has been intense, to say the least. The court started with about 600 potential jurors and has been narrowing them down through a rigorous questioning process. Potential jurors were asked about their knowledge of the case, case, whether they'd seen that viral video of Diddy allegedly assaulting Cassie Ventura, and if they had any biases that might affect their judgment. Some of the responses from potential jurors give us a glimpse into just how high profile this case has become. Several mentioned having seen the assault video, while others referenced hearing baby oil jokes related to the FBI raids on Diddy's properties. One juror even mentioned liking a comedian's video that joked about Diddy and baby oil, though they were deemed qualified after stating they could remain impartial. The court is aiming to select 12 jurors and 6 alternates for this trial, which is expected to last between 8 to 10 weeks. That's a long time, y'all. The trial is scheduled to run Monday to Friday, with the first week from 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. ET, and subsequent weeks from 9:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. ET. So we're looking at potentially going well into July before a verdict is reached. One interesting detail is that the first 3 witnesses have already been disclosed to the defense, though their identities haven't been made public. Speculation is running wild about who these witnesses might be, with many wondering if Cassie Ventura will be among the early testimonies. During the jury selection process, potential jurors were given a list of names that might come up during the trial, including Michael B. Jordan, Kid Cudi, Cassie Ventura, Michelle Williams, Mike Myers, Dallas Austin, Lauren London, and Dawn Richard. This suggests that testimony might touch on Diddy's extensive network in the entertainment industry. It's important to note, though, that none of these celebrities are accused of any wrongdoing. They might just be mentioned during testimony or might have been present at events relevant to the case. Diddy himself has been present in court throughout the proceedings so far. He's been granted permission to wear non-prison clothing during the trial, appearing in a blue sweater, white shirt, and glasses. Now let's talk about Diddy's defense strategy, because it's giving us some major clues about how his team plans to fight these charges. First and foremost, Diddy has pleaded not guilty to all charges and rejected a plea deal, signaling his intent to fight the allegations in court. His defense team have been aggressive in challenging the prosecution's evidence. One key aspect of their strategy appears to be challenging the admissibility of that Cassie Ventura assault video, arguing that it was substantially altered. CNN has denied these claims, and Judge Subramanian has ruled the video admissible despite the defense's objections. This suggests the jury will indeed see this potentially damaging footage during the trial. Another interesting element is that the defense has filed motions to dismiss parts of the indictment, alleging racial targeting. They've also been focusing on jury selection, particularly around media exposure and potential biases, recognizing how the high-profile nature of this case could affect jurors' perceptions. Perhaps most intriguingly, court documents indicate a plan to have Dr. Eli Aoun, a Columbia professor, testify about a redacted mental condition that could bear on Diddy's guilt. This suggests they might be preparing to introduce some kind of psychological or medical defense, though prosecutors are disputing its relevance. Throughout all of this, Diddy's team has consistently maintained that he is innocent of all charges. His attorney, Mark Agnifilo, has repeatedly stated that Diddy is an imperfect person, but he is not a criminal, emphasizing that their client wants to clear his name. They framed any interactions as consensual and part of what they describe as a swinger lifestyle, not criminal activity. So what happens next in this trial? Opening statements are scheduled to begin on Monday, May 12, 2025. This is when both the prosecution and defense will outline their cases to the jury, giving us a much clearer picture of the specific evidence and arguments we can expect throughout the trial. After opening statements, the prosecution will begin presenting their case, calling witnesses, and introducing evidence. The indictment focuses on 4 victims identified as Victim 1 through Victim 4, with 3 allowed to testify anonymously. Their testimony will likely be a central part of the prosecution's case. Other key evidence will likely include that 2016 hotel surveillance footage showing Diddy allegedly assaulting Cassie Ventura, which Judge Subramanian has ruled admissible. The FBI's discovery of over 1,000 bottles of baby oil during raids on Diddy's properties will also likely be presented as evidence. Once the prosecution rests its case, the defense will present its side, potentially including testimony from that Columbia professor about the redacted mental condition. They'll likely focus on undermining the prosecution's evidence and arguing that any interactions were consensual. After both sides present their cases, there will be closing arguments, and then the jury will deliberate to reach a verdict. Given the complexity of this case and the number of charges, deliberations could potentially take days. If convicted on all charges, Diddy faces extremely serious consequences. The most severe charges, racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, carry maximum sentences of life imprisonment. The sex trafficking charges also come with a mandatory minimum sentence of 15 years. The transportation to engage in prostitution charges each carry a maximum of 10 years. Beyond the criminal case, Diddy still faces those civil lawsuits, reportedly over 70 of them, alleging various forms of sexual misconduct. While these are separate from the criminal trial, the outcome of this case could potentially influence those civil proceedings. It's worth noting that this case has broader implications for the music industry as a whole. The Washington Post has pointed out that this case has sparked discussions about accountability in the music industry, particularly around non-disclosure agreements and power dynamics. Some see this as part of a larger reckoning similar to the #MeToo movement in Hollywood. The case has also drawn comparisons to other high-profile cases like those of Harvey Weinstein and R. Kelly, with prosecutors arguing that Diddy, like those men, used his wealth and influence to coerce and intimidate victims. The outcome of this trial could potentially set precedents for how similar cases are handled in the future. Despite all this happening, a recent May 1st report from Deadline revealed that Diddy is also facing additional lawsuits of a different kind. He's apparently filed defamation lawsuits against documentaries like Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy, which came out in January 2025, claiming they advance conspiracy theories about him. The fact that he's pursuing these lawsuits while simultaneously defending himself against such serious criminal charges shows just how complex this legal battle has become. For the latest updates on this trial, many reputable sources are providing daily coverage. USA Today, The Independent, and BBC News are all offering detailed reporting on the proceedings. This trial represents one of the most high-profile criminal cases in the music industry in recent years, and its outcome could have far-reaching implications not just for Diddy himself, but for how the industry addresses issues of power, accountability, and abuse. And with that, we've come to the end of this deep dive. For more juicy content like this, smash that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, and check out the cards showing on your screen for more videos. Don't forget to comment your thoughts below.